So, first, can you start by telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then, hometown, a little bit about your background and things like that, that everything that kind of led you up to this, the point that you're at right now.
My name is LaTonya Pye. I currently work at LPS Richmond, right here in the heart of the Iron Triangle in Richmond. Um, I grew up here in the Bay Area. I have roots here tied to Richmond. My formative years were in Rodeo, where I was raised by my grandmother, who still lives there today. And so I think I've had a really interesting journey to get to where I am now. I never expected doing anything like this when I was coming up, especially being a product out of Richmond and Rodeo. Uh, I started here in Richmond as a really young kid going to local schools. Very long story, eventually ended up in Rodeo, where my grandmother was taking care of me.
Okay.
Uh, so I went through the schools in the John Swett Unified School District system. From there, I went to college at SF State.
Okay.
And since then, it's just been an honor to kind of build my career in different school settings and community settings. And all of that eventually led me to LPS Richmond. I thought I would try it out for a year, working with high school students, just trying to see, kind of what my next step in my career was.
Okay.
And that was 7 years ago, and I'm still
Okay.
here.
Okay. So, if I can ask, your parents are living. How did you end up living just with your grandmother as opposed to your parents?
Well, my father passed away more than a decade ago.
Okay.
But yeah, my grandmother's kind of always been that central figure in my life. Um, my mother dealt with various challenges and issues that tend to come up when you live in under-resourced communities. And I'm just really thankful that I had a grandmother who not only was willing to step in when she saw that there was a need, but also, had the financial capacity and just the ability to step in when she did. So all of my memories involve being raised with my grandmother. I've been with her permanently since I was about 6. And she's been the one that was supporting me through school and different ideas and figuring out college and then eventually going into a career. So she's been that prominent figure my whole life.
Okay. Okay. And did you grow up an only child with your grandmother, or were there other children in the home too?
Essentially an only child. I do have a younger brother. We unfortunately were not raised in the same household. But to my grandmother's credit, she, I think, did her best to try to make sure that we still had that connection and understood that we had a sibling relationship. And so when she could arrange or make those moments happen for us to be connected and spend time together, she did her best, but it was normally just me and her together.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's great. It seems like you had a really nice and stable environment. What was life like for you growing up through the school system here?
I was really, really shy and really quiet. It's kind of hilarious considering the work I do now involves a lot of outward facing work and encouraging students to speak up and feel confident speaking in front of their peers. And that was just not me at all growing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, so I think when I look back at even just being a kid going through elementary school and middle school, I was really shy. I remember getting bullied. But I loved school. I liked being in my classes. I liked learning. I loved being with my friends. But I never would have imagined doing the incredible work I've been able to do over the last few years.
Yeah. How did you deal with the bullying in school?
Honestly, I remember being really confused, like just not understanding why that was happening. I don't feel like I was a kid that looked for issues or, was involved in a lot of drama. I think it's just naturally stuff that happens when you're coming up with a bunch of kids, right? Um, Again, shout out to my grandmother. I think she had a really good understanding of, teaching me to stand up for myself and to defend myself, and also balancing that with, making sure you're picking the right friends and not hanging out in the wrong crowds. There definitely were some times in middle school where, you know, if you want to call it a fight, I suppose, those types of things happened. But I think it was just normal adolescent stuff. And I think I just had really great friends around me who supported me and had my back. And I had a grandmother who kind of kept me on the straight and narrow.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay, well that's good. That's good. Okay. And so how did you find your voice to be able to start doing the type of work that you're doing now? Because I know prior to this you worked in another school community, and that was a very interactive experience, but I don't know that it required as much, you know, um as vocal as you are now. I don't know that it required the same type of energy. It was definitely a lot. So that was like a different capacity for you.
Yeah.
So how did you find your voice to do what you're doing right now?
Honestly, I think a lot of it just starts with faking it till you make it,
Mhm.
which is what I tell my students a lot of the times. A lot of times you just have to kind of own the moment, even if you don't feel confident or you don't feel fully prepared for it. So there have been times where I've been called to do public speaking or interact with different community members as we're doing community service in and out of Richmond. And a lot of times it just takes, looking in the mirror and doing a little pep talk and, doing the deep breathing and kind of just reminding yourself of what the purpose is. And honestly, with that, repetition is key, right? Um, the first few times I was called to do anything or even hold a microphone, I remember just honestly feeling like I wanted to throw up and just being really nervous and shaking. And, you get through it and you realize that one, it actually wasn't that bad. Um, but that most people aren't as critical as I might be of myself, right? So a lot of things that I felt really self-conscious about or really nervous about after I would finish speaking or doing whatever the task was, nobody even noticed the running list of things I thought I did wrong. And I think that was a huge confidence booster for me. And with that, just kind of being required to do certain things, it's still not necessarily my most favorite thing to do, but knowing that I can do it and have done it has alleviated a lot of the stress for me.
Mhm. So you're doing a great work right now with LPS. If you were to have to advise someone that is starting from where you were when you got there on how to overcome the feelings that you had, would you advise them to do what you said you did, just fake it until you make it, silence the noise, push forward, or is there something else that, like, if you could go back, would you have approached this position from a different angle if you know what you know now?
Mm. I think I would personally still approach it the same way, but I would have tried to ask for more help. I think I felt really isolated and honestly maybe a little bit embarrassed to ask for help,
Mhm.
um, especially when you're coming into like a new job. Um, this was several years ago, so still feeling like really, really young and really fresh and just, stepping into what at the time felt like a very well-oiled machine was really, really intimidating. Um, and I think instead of just internalizing that and just feeling like I have to show up perfectly and not make any mistakes, I think I probably could have saved myself a lot of stress if I had just maybe reached out or asked for guidance or even just felt comfortable saying, hey, I feel nervous about this thing. I think that would have alleviated a lot of that stress for me. So I would encourage people to reach out and lean into your community, even if it's something like work that I'm doing that might not have necessarily been done before. There's still a lot of people here who are willing to support and be thought partners, but nobody knows if you don't ask for help, right?
Yeah, yeah. And so, tell us exactly what it is that you do at LPS.
I have the honor of doing lots of great things here. My official title is Career and Community Leadership Coordinator, which, like, what does that mean? It's kind of a unique position that we're lucky enough to have here in the network. I like to describe it in kind of like three different buckets. One of the things I do is oversee our dual enrollment program. So currently I have a bunch of high school students who are taking a college midterm right now with their college professor. And they get to take these classes completely for free, built into their regular high school schedule, with the ultimate goal of graduating high school with their diploma and a certification of achievement from Contra Costa College. That is a huge bulk of the work. This
Okay,
is
so wait, that happens every senior. They both get a certificate from CC College as well as LPS diploma.
They have the option. So students, it's different for each kind of cohort and student, but essentially students can start taking free college classes their sophomore year here at the high school, with taking a new class every semester. And by the time they get to their senior year, if they've stuck with it and have completed all of the requirements necessary, we've had a ton of students who have graduated with that high school diploma and a certification. And I
Okay.
believe we are on track to have at least 8 more who are planning to finish out with that certification by the end of their senior year. So lots of great things to celebrate over here.
Okay, are there specific certifications that you guys would support them in if they decide to go that route, or they can decide on whatever they want?
Currently, it's a business CTE pathways program. So our students are taking mostly business related classes. So that might be things like intro to business, public speaking. Right now, my students are enrolled in intro to management. That's the midterm they're taking right now.
Okay.
And so it's a really good opportunity for students who know they want to go to college and know that that's their direct path that they want to follow after high school. But it's also a really great opportunity for students who kind of don't know what they want to do. Being able
Okay.
to take these classes completely for free takes a lot of the pressure off. And it's a chance to try something with a bunch more support than you might get if you went the traditional route. So even though most of the students when they start out in the program are sophomores, they're barely 15 and 16. It's usually their first time taking any type of advanced coursework. Being able to kind of work with them and see that trajectory. A lot of times by the time we get to senior year, I hear two different perspectives. I hear students who are saying, cool, I'm glad I did this. Now I know what goes into being a business owner and an entrepreneur, and I kind of know that that's not for me. But more often than not, we have students who will kind of come around and say, I just wanted to try this out because it sounded fun and I wasn't even planning to go to college, but now I've worked with all of these incredible professors and I've earned all this credit and I can kind of see a path for myself. And then those are the students who decide to continue their education, whether that's at Contra Costa or a different community college. We've had a lot of students who have gone on to the CSU system or the UC system. We've had several dual enrollment students who were at some really big name private schools like Stanford, USC, Pomona College. And it's just been really beautiful to kind of see this trajectory happen over the last 4 years. Had no idea what I was doing when this first launched or what the impact would be. And now knowing that we've had more than 100 students go through this program in one way or another, all Richmond natives, has just been a huge honor for me.
Great. Great. That's nice. So do you typically because I do follow you guys on social media and I see, over the years you guys kind of do some of the same excursions for some of the students. Do you just keep that set, or are you also looking for different types of opportunities to expose the students to?
We're always looking for all kinds of opportunities. And that's the cool thing about my job is it's not specifically a teaching role, it's not specifically a counseling role, but it is a really good opportunity to kind of wear different many hats and get involved with different programs and initiatives. So one of the big traditions we have here is College Week. And that looks different every single year depending on what our students' interests and needs are and what our staff capacity looks like. But traditionally, we really prioritize taking our students to visit as many college campuses as possible. Um, this year, we've extended that to really focus on community colleges as well, just trying to open more doors and have students kind of see what all of their options are. We have students who are planning to go down to Southern California in a couple of weeks to visit some schools down there. We also have an HBCU trip coming up where our African American students get to opt in and travel to the East Coast and parts of the southern parts of the state to just see something different and have an opportunity that I know for myself, I did not have when I was in high
Yeah,
school. And so we really try to pride ourselves in getting our students connected with different opportunities and just making sure that they all have some type of plan by the time they get to graduation day.
that's exciting.
Yeah.
What are the demographics there?
We are 100% BIPOC. We are mostly Latinx, but we do have a really great community of African American students. We're constantly trying to evolve and improve, our outreach with our African American students and making sure that one, they know that we exist and that
Yeah.
we are here and we have resources and educators who are just waiting to welcome them in. So we're constantly thinking about how to boost up enrollment and how to make sure that we're representing the dynamics of Richmond.
Okay. Is enrollment open, or how does that work for enrollment there at the school?
Enrollment is open. I'm not an expert in it, but I know that we currently did our lottery system for next year's incoming freshman class. So if anybody has questions about, how to get their student connected, I would definitely have them check in with our main office.
Okay.
Everyone up there is incredible and knows all of the specific details about that enrollment. But we also were lucky enough where we can kind of enroll students throughout the school year if that's ever needed. So I just encourage people to reach out if you can't get in contact with anybody at the main office for whatever reason. I'm more than happy to connect you with the right people. But we do have a special gym here, and it's weirdly like since it's so centralized, you would think more people would know about us, but we're kind of a hidden
Yeah.
school. So I invite people to come learn more about us.
Okay. So why do you love what you do? Because I noticed even when I started to ask you about your role at LPS, you just kind of lit up, and I've seen you, there engaging. You're really passionate about what you do. Why is this so important to you?
I love being able to pour back into the Richmond community, especially as someone who grew up here as a young child and obviously moved away to Rodeo. But a huge part of that was my grandmother understood some of the negative connotations that come with living in Richmond, because she grew up in Richmond herself. Um, and so I know what it's like to be a young student here, especially as a young Black student. I know, unfortunately, the reputation that comes with Richmond, especially here in the Iron Triangle. And I know that a lot of those stereotypes are simply not true. We have incredible students, incredible family members, and community members who care so much about what we're doing, but just overall, like how to make the city better, how to make their communities better, what can we do to strengthen the environment for everybody. And those are the narratives that I really appreciate. I mean, you're from Richmond as well. We know all the negative stuff that gets said about our town and the people from here, and it just means a lot to be able to do a little bit of work to hopefully change that narrative. Um, I had a lot of great mentors when I was in high school, people who were just looking out for me or encouraging me to step out of my comfort zone. And I don't know that I would have even applied to college or made it through college if I didn't have people who were opening doors for me and pushing me. So being able to give all of that back, and pour into a community that my family has very deep roots within, like it just means a lot to me. And like I said, I didn't know that I was going to be here for this long. I remember feeling really nervous about the idea of working with teenagers in a high school setting. But being able to be here and build a community, has just really been life changing for me. And I'm thankful that I'm here to do it.
Yeah. And so, in addition to that, that explains that piece, but you also did something for your coworkers and yourself there. And so, first of all, explain to us what just happened with for you and your coworkers. Just explain the process of what just happened, in brief, because I know it's a very tedious. In brief, tell us what you just did for the people.
So it's weird to frame it like that, but I can very happily announce that all of our classified staff members here at Leadership Public Schools are officially unionized, and we have our very first collective bargaining agreement. This has been a multi-year process to finally get here. But historically, a lot of schools don't have a union, or if they do, it doesn't include everybody. So we're really thankful that we finally have a union that represents the certificated side, which are typically teachers and counselors, anyone who has a credential. But now classified staff members also get to kind of reap the benefits of being unionized. So that includes a lot of part-time staff, hourly staff, a lot of people who are behind the scenes and on the ground floor doing really invaluable work that, quite honestly, a school cannot function without these people. So people like your food services team, your office staff, your instructional aides, tech coordinators, people like that, who do really important, incredible work, but often are not compensated as fairly as they should be, may not be protected in the same way that other people might be. And yeah, we were able to pull off something historic and unprecedented. And yeah, as of a few weeks ago, almost a month ago, we officially have our contract ratified by staff members and the Board of Educators that kind of oversees all the programming we do here at the network. So it's been a really huge historic win for our team. People are now receiving better compensation, stronger benefits, um, stronger protections as far as their job responsibilities. So we're hoping that that will hopefully keep people around for a longer time, lessen our turnover, have more consistency, and all of that ultimately means we can support our students in our community.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Do you
Thank you
feel
so much.
amazing?
I feel really proud about this. And the fact that I can even say that is is new for me, but that just shows like how important I think this work has been.
Mhm.
Um, I know it kind of feels like for some people it's been really sudden, but this has been a 2-year process and really a 5-year process. It has taken quite a long time to even get people on board with the idea.
Yeah,
Understandable because it can be really scary to speak out. It can be really scary to feel like you're going against your human resources team or your superintendent. But thankfully, we have really incredible people here on the sites and really incredible people in our home office. I'm thankful that people were willing to work in good faith to make sure that, again, ultimately it's the students who are being supported by all of this. So yeah, this has been a multi-year journey and I'm just really, really thankful that we're finally here.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, congratulations on that. That's huge. I wouldn't.
Thank you so
I
much.
can only imagine. Yeah. So,
Yeah,
like what? Okay, it's obvious why you did it. But I just like I want to understand like the back, not the backstory, but because for one, when you do things like that, like you said, it's like you challenging the HR team, but it's really not about them. It's about the policy that was in place even before they got there. So there's all of that that comes along with it, and then the stress of the job, and not stress in a negative way. You know, there's that whole power of thirds thing. So anything you're doing, you just like, I feel like a third of the time you're just like out of your mind with it anyway. So
yeah.
how were you able how are you able to do what you do for the students there? You have your own life, okay, and then you have this big thing that you just did. Like what do you do to balance between the three? Let's just say the three. What do you do to balance between the three when you have those times where you wanted to throw in the towel? Because I'm sure that happened. Like what is it, what is that process for you? Like what keeps you going? What did you pull from when you were saying forget it? Or I'm sure there was also moments where maybe every staff person wasn't on board and you feel like, you know,
Yeah.
you're pulling the load by yourself at times. Like what was that journey and process like for you, and how did you stay the course?
It was definitely difficult at times, you know. I think a huge part in seeing that there was a need in having a union was the staff turnover. So part of it was just getting people on board, but then making sure that people were sticking around to make sure the work was completed, right? Um, I can't say that I've had the best work-life balance in the last few years. I'm sure if you ask several of my friends, they'll probably say that it's an area of growth for me, and I agree. This work is hard, even without union related work, just the nature of working in education um, can be really taxing, not only physically, but the emotional part of it, right? Um, it's an honor to do what I do, and I think any educator would say that, but it also takes so much of your energy because we care about these students. We love these students. We love the community. And with that, that extends to our colleagues. A lot of these people I've worked with since I've been here since day one. Um, and eventually, people grow from just being colleagues. They become your friends or people who I would even consider to be brothers and sisters at this point. Um, and so I think that type of stuff, just, holding on to the larger picture was always really helpful for me. Thinking about the greater good and the greater impact that this would have on everyone. Um, I think even holding that, I might not have fully realized the significance of all of this. Um, I think it's one thing to know you're doing the right thing and it feels important, but to finally be on the other side and see, you know, I guess the consequences of all of the great work. So seeing that people now feel like they have a future here. I can't tell you how many people cried when they saw their new salary or their new
Oh,
wage.
wow.
Just talking about how this is going to change their lives and what that would mean
Yeah.
for their kids. Some people now don't feel like they have to pick up a second job to just try to
Mhm.
make ends meet. And so I think holding all of that just internally and in the back of my mind really helped me get through the process. Um, but you're right, there were plenty of times where I just didn't know how we were going to move forward or, you know, not really understanding like what I'm supposed to be taking from this, but knowing that it's all leading to something good. I think just having faith and holding on to, you know, that larger idea and also just having a team around me that felt the same way. This work wasn't done alone. I had a lot of incredible educators around me who also felt very similarly and passionately about, what feels fair, what feels right, what feels like the correct thing to do for our community, and just
Mhm.
having a team that really understood our name is leadership for a reason, and we should be leaning into that. I think it truly made the difference for us.
Yeah. Okay. So what does the future look like for you now? You've done this. Where do you see yourself going? Let's just say in the next 5 years. Like, what are your plans? Because you clearly, you're just elevating, elevating, elevating every time I turn around. So what do you see for yourself next?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Um, Honestly, I'm not sure, and that feels really good. It feels really good to know that there might be some more flexibility opening up in my schedule. This has taken a lot of time, which has been beautiful, but it honestly has been restrictive in some ways. And so I'm excited to see what opportunities come next. I think one thing I'm really looking forward to is finding ways to continue to support the union outside of being on the bargaining team. And I don't know what that necessarily looks like because this is a new process for us now that we're officially unionized. But if there's opportunities to continue in leadership roles as far as the elected officials go, I think that might be something to consider and pursue just to make sure the work that we've done continues and, doesn't just disappear now that we have a contract, right? So I look forward to finding opportunities like that. I look forward to helping our school expand our dual enrollment opportunities and finding new summer programs and enrichment opportunities for our students to get involved in. Um, I think now that we have this contract and we have our compensation that is solidified and we have all of these protections that feel really good to make plans moving forward. Now I just want to like grab the bull by the horns and run and do everything. I'm like, what programs can we bring to the school? What field trips can we pull off now? Um, what what more opportunities can we expand for as far as like community service and giving back to the city of Richmond? So I'm looking forward to just having more time to kind of sit with students and brainstorm what they want and where we can go from here.
Okay, okay. And considering your journey and just looking back on everything and where you are now, what would you say to a young girl? And let's just go back to maybe middle school when she's dealing with bullies, and you're with your grandmother, and she raised you well. You seem like you were pretty well taken care of, but there's still that factor of like, my parents, my dad has passed away, my mom is not in the home. That's a lot to navigate your way through. And the difference in a child being able to succeed in that, one has to do with the parenting they are receiving. But for some people, they don't have that. They don't have the guidance to get to where they want to go, and they're smart, they're in school, but it's like you go home and home is a challenge. Or
Yeah.
even if home isn't a challenge, you may just have that sore spot of like, where's my brother, where's my whatever. So what pieces of advice, and just if you could think of a few things to share with people if they find themselves in that predicament, to just for them to think about and hold on to give them hope to push forward. And obviously you're an example of what a person can do when they just like don't let their circumstances be an excuse or a stronghold even. So what kind of advice would you give to a young person? And I'm sure you do this all the time already, but just for a more people that you haven't reached yet, what would you say to them to push forward?
You'd be surprised. I don't know that the students know that side of me that well,
Okay.
but
Okay.
and I do appreciate all of that. Like I think just even being able to receive that feels really good. So thank you.
Welcome.
I'm trying to think of something like really profound. I didn't have a language for it. I didn't really know how to identify it, but I think I just always intrinsically knew that I wanted more than the bare minimum. I didn't want to have decisions made for me. I wanted to feel like I was an active participant in my life. And I think all of that is what kind of kept me going forward. Um, while it's unfortunate to have those challenging circumstances and people in and out of your life, I think it also taught me a lot about being resilient, and being independent, and making sure that you live by your word, and that integrity. I think I've always just prioritized that and have prided myself on that. And so for me, I think I just always knew like I wanted more. Um, I didn't want to be stuck in that bubble, and um, I didn't want life to happen to me. I love Richmond. I love Rodeo. I love being from the Bay Area. I think anybody who knows me knows like I am a Bay Area girly. And I also know that there's so much more outside of this bubble, and that that knowledge will also give you like a deeper appreciation for your upcoming and your background, right? And so I think I just tried to keep all of that stuff, front and center. I probably was a little bit too strict in some regards as far as like academics or getting through college or building a career. But I think, just when you set your mind to something, stick with that. It's okay to pivot from things. It's okay to walk away from different situations or even people who might not feel good or feel safe for whatever reason. And yeah, a lot of it was just keeping my head down and just this unshakable and unwavering faith in myself. And I didn't really know how that was going to work out or what that meant for me, but I knew that I wanted to be in control and I wanted to be the one making those decisions. So,
Okay. 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 Well, you shared a lot, and again, thank you so much for your time. I'm not going to hold you a bunch longer. Before we go, do you have anything, final things you want to put out there before we close up?
um, shout out to LPS Richmond.
Yes.
Come talk to us if you want to enroll your incoming freshmen. Obviously, I'm biased. This is my job, but I really do think we have an incredible school here. We're working on expanding our programming and opportunities. And I do not feel ashamed to say that I want more Black students here. We have incredible resources here. Like I said, I think our school is just really tiny and hidden, but we do have a lot of great resources, really incredible teachers here, lots of great programming, fun stuff too. I really try to emphasize finding free programs. So whether that's summer enrichment programs, internships, leadership opportunities, anything that's going to help a student kind of stand out and open doors, and whether that gets them to college or an internship or whatever the case may be, that's the work that feels really grounding for me. And the more students we can connect with those opportunities, the better. So come check us out, especially if you are identifying as Black or African American. Um, I don't feel ashamed by saying we want you here. So whatever we can do to talk to you, or if you have any questions, please, I'd be more than happy to connect with you and answer any questions that I can.
Okay. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. And
Ooh.
yes, enjoy the rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Kianda. This was amazing.
Thank you.